everyone. Welcome to Resiliency Connection. This is Shelley Plumb. I am excited to have you with us today. For those of you not familiar with Resiliency Connection, it is a podcast focused on personal empowerment and enhancing your resiliency quotient. As an offshoot of our parent program in September, Resiliency 2024, each podcast episode will feature experts in the field of resiliency. It is our goal to link you with inspirational speakers, empowering clinicians, talented artists, life-changing authors, and noted professionals from around the globe. Together, we will create a global community of listeners dedicated to building resiliency, well-being, and strategies to flourish and thrive. Speaking of inspirational speakers, we have a treat for you today. We have Alisyn Camerota with us on the show. As many of you know, she is a broadcast journalist, CNN anchor, and author of a new incredible book titled Combat Love, which we're going to talk about today. It is a story of leaving, longing, and searching for home. Please join me in welcoming Alisyn. How are you, Alisyn?
Shelley, I'm great. I'm so honored to be here on the podcast. I think this is a wonderful idea that you guys are doing to help people with even more resiliency.
We are excited that you're here with us today. The entire resiliency team would like to congratulate you on this wonderful book, Combat Love. You know what? It's riveting, it's engaging, and, from the very beginning. I think many of us, we see ourselves in the pages of the book as we read. One thing that was I have to share with you, is very interesting for me in the book is that even back as early as 16 years old, you struggled with a very important concept. You struggled with your sense of belonging. You left your house, right? At the early age, I think it was 16 years old. And I'll tell you what, when I think of my children when they were 16, it's such an early age. Can you give our viewers, and maybe in our listeners that are out there, a glimpse of what you were going through at that time?
Yeah, so I was an only child. And I grew up in suburban New Jersey, Shrewsbury, New Jersey. And as an only child, and my parents were divorced, and after they got divorced, they were sort of distracted and often distant. So I was alone a lot. And I think that I really longed for belonging. And I turned my friends, as so many teenagers do, into my family. And I think that my quest for belonging, I really needed a family. So, not all teenagers are equipped to act as somebody else's family or somebody else's guardians. And as you'll read in Combat Love, I wasn't always making the best choices, but I really got attached to my hometown and my high school and my friends. And so when I was 15, and my mother, who was in a very different space, she wanted to set sail for, a bigger life, more adventure. She felt very sort of suffocated by our small 2 square mile hometown of Shrewsbury, which I thought was the epicenter of the universe. So she wanted to set sail. I wanted to drop anchor. And she won. And we moved 3,000 miles away to a town where we knew no one. And I know it's actually near your hometown I believe you're from Renton. Is that right, Shelley?
Yes. I was born in Renton. Washington State is a beautiful place to live in.
Moving from New Jersey to Bellingham was a big one for me. And so I still longed for belonging and ballast and something to be anchored to. And really, I think that my story can be universal in that, we're all searching for some version of home and whatever that means to various people. And I think about all of the stories through the ages about people who were searching for home, from, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz to, the Odyssey. So anyway, it took me a long, long time, decades, to find my own safe version of home and stability. And so I speak now from somebody who, didn't have resiliency, and somebody who has learned how to have better tools for it.
I can relate on many levels to what you just said. I have to tell you, I resonate with an interesting concept in your book, and that is the sense of self. This year, Resiliency 2024 is centered around connections. And here is what is on my mind right here and now. And I'm sure many people who have read Combat Love, they're wondering the same thing. I'm wondering about your sense of connection to yourself. Not necessarily connections to other people, but connections to yourself. It almost seemed to change a bit as the book moved on. Can you comment on the sense of self and how it changed over time? How important to you is a true healthy connection to yourself?
Well, I think it took me a long time to feel strong enough by myself. As an adolescent and as a teenager, I really needed external adulation and external reinforcement, I guess. And so what I did was I always attached myself to a guy. And I got a lot of value from my boyfriends and from whoever it was that I was going out with. So I would often go out with somebody who was, popular, handsome, in demand, a big fish in our, high school pond. And that imbued me with value. And, that's not the sturdiest or healthiest way to have value. Um, Obviously, it comes from within. But as you'll read in the book, as people will read in the book, what that set me up for was when there'd be a separation from a boyfriend, I would, fall into an abyss. So it was a bad pattern. And I kept that pattern up for a long time until with therapy, I was able to develop a strong enough sense of self where I didn't need to be attached to somebody and I didn't need to have a boyfriend. And of course, that's the moment when I meet my husband, and who becomes my, life partner, because I was at that point strong enough to function on my own and give myself my own value.
Your own value. Yes, 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 yes. That gives me personally something to think about. I know many out there who are listening or watching us, they'll agree with Combat Love is a thought-provoking. It was thought-provoking in many, many respects. I'm reading it and I'm reminded that my life's path is not paved perfectly. No, it's not. I don't think it is for anyone, right? I mean, we all have twists, we all have turns, and sometimes those turns can put a knot in our stomach. So, Alisyn, what tips can you give our viewers and listeners out there to navigate that path, life's path, effectively?
I think that a couple of things really helped me. Number one, closure. I'm a big fan of closure, and I know that not everybody can get it. Sometimes people die, sometimes people cut off communication from you, and that's awful when you live without closure. But when you can get closure, and this book really, writing Combat Love, really allowed me some healing and some catharsis and some closure, because I went back to every person in the book and, kind of double checked my story against their story and their version of events. And it really was healing to hear what people, as adults, what their thoughts are now and how they saw me. And I had to apologize to some people for my bad behavior. And some people apologized to me when I called them for their bad behavior. And it was just such a healing exercise, particularly with my mom. As you'll read, that was such a fraught relationship. Mm-hmm. I was a teenager. We end up parting ways when I'm 16. And writing the book really allowed me to see things from her perspective. So that's my first bit of advice is that, if you have some unfinished business, I had a lot of it, try to get closure. Try to have the courage, I guess, to apologize to the people that you need to and to just make amends. And not even make amends, just check in with the people if you have any unfinished business. So I ended up doing that. And then something else that has really helped me in this past couple of years, Tara Brach is, a well-known kind of psychologist and steeped in meditation and in Buddhist principles. And she talks about something called radical acceptance. Mm-hmm. And I was really bad at that. I was filled with, in my teens and my 20s, a lot of if only. If I'd been able to do this, or maybe this could have happened, or why did this have to happen? And radical acceptance just frees you of all the woulda, coulda, shouldas, and you are able to say, this is what it is, and this is what I have to accept. This is it, and so I've found that whether it's, friends wrestling with illnesses, friends wrestling with their children and hard times and challenges presented to their children, this is what we have in front of us. This is what we have to deal with. And regret and wishing it were something different isn't that helpful. And so radical acceptance has really freed me from all of that other kind of mental, wheels turning. So I would say closure, a radical acceptance, and then last, and I know I've spoken about this before on the Resiliency conference. My gratitude journal, gratitude. I begin each day and end each day with gratitude. And that has completely reframed my thinking. So instead of regret, instead of guilt, instead of worry, if you start each day with what you're grateful for, it's a life changer. It's a life changer. So I feel like those three tools have really helped me come out from, places of when I've been in places of despair or depression.
Ah, I love what you just said about gratitude. Gratitude is such a powerful tool that we honestly, have right at our disposal, right? I mean, we do. It's amazing tips for our viewers. So thank you for saying that. And I think there are a lot of people out there that will resonate with the fact that writing in many respects can be the best form of therapy. I mean, sometimes it's just the exercise, for me personally, it's just the exercise of getting what's in your head out of your head and onto paper. It can really help shift us from a place of despair and adversity to a place of hope and healing, which, our parent program, Resiliency, as you know, speaks to very, very well. So one thing I want to shift back to, earlier you had mentioned the concept of home. And home, well, it means so many different things to so many people. I mean, for me, with my children, I try to make home a place that my children, my husband, can go and get away from everything and everyone. A place where they feel comfortable to speak their mind and really be heard. So I'm curious, for you, in maybe a few sentences, what would you say your definition of home is?
I guess the place that you feel you belong and are most yourself. And so I felt that way about, as I said, my posse of teenage friends. It was really people. It was also place. I mean, for me, Monmouth County, New Jersey, and the beach and those streets, the place and the setting was home for sure. Not, I lost my home. So it wasn't actually the physical structure of a house, but it was definitely the place that I felt so familiar with. And then the friends who knew my stories and I knew their stories, and we were really intimately connected. So, friends and in that setting was what I always identified with for home. Nowadays, as an adult, I have a real home, a sturdy roof over my head. And, my family lives here and we have enough food. And I think it is a safe place for my teenagers. And that's what I identify it with. But I will say that what I learned in part in talking to my mother while I wrote this book is that home is not always a safe haven for everyone. And
True.
so what I was craving in home, my mother did not have that same association of home being her safe haven. So she wanted to set sail and branch out from home. And I wanted to put down roots in home. And so we had this conflict that really kind of were mutually exclusive and couldn't be resolved until we went our separate ways and had to find that for ourselves on our own path.
Interesting. Yes, our separate ways. Yeah, that's really thought provoking. Well, listen, I have a surprise for you. I do. You didn't know this, did you? We have a mystery guest, and we asked her what her definition of home was.
When I hear you talk about closure and radical acceptance and gratitude, that to me is all home. It's about coming together with yourself. And that's what I heard in the book. That's what I hear from you today.
Ah, you know what? I love that. Love that.
I think I know who our guest is.
Yes, yes, yes. She is the one and only the founder of and CEO of Resiliency. Hi, Joy. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I am thrilled to be here with both of you.
And I could not concur enough with your definition of home. That was beautiful.
Yeah. Joy, it's so great. It's so great to hear your voice and to be here with you. I think that that really resonates with me, what you've said. For a long time, I needed something else, someone else to be attached to. And recently, only recently, is there a voice in me, inside me, that says, I'm here with you. I'm here with you. You know,
Ah,
And
just me.
isn't that the beauty, though? Because that really is home when you can hear that voice. And that came through in your book so clearly. And when I listen to you, I can hear it. I can hear that sense. And I have to thank you for writing the book because I think it has so much power. And I think so many people will really resonate with your story and your strength and your perseverance.
I could not concur enough. I 150% agree. So I'm curious. I have a question for both of you ladies. Is that sense of home and the value of connections in our life, how do those two concepts come together in your minds?
Well, for me, I like both. I need both. I mean, I think that I used to rely heavily on connections and my external friendships. I mean, my friendships, not even external, my deep friendships and connections. But as Joy was saying, without that sense of inner home and your inner kind of homing pigeon, um, there's a searching, there's a need, there's a hunger, as I said before. So I like both. I mean, I really like having a home and having stability and having my own confidence. And then, being able to be connected and bring people to me or go out in the world. It's just, that's the dream sequence for me, is to be able
I,
to do both.
Incredible. Yes, that's amazing. And Joy, I mean, having read Alisyn's book, as far as obstacles go in your life, did the book teach you anything about how to go through or around obstacles?
I was just taken by how strong Alisyn is. And how she persevered. And as an only child, just like Alisyn, I felt alone a lot of times, and connections were very important to me. But I was very thankful for the time of COVID because it was the first time that I allowed myself to be with myself because there was no one else around. I mean, because of the situation. But I allowed myself to learn, as Alisyn said, about radical compassion and really getting in touch with the person inside myself. So the book reinforced everything, and it was so amazing to celebrate with her, even if it was externally, but to just see the growth. And it made me happy inside, and it reinforced, my journey as well.
That makes me so happy, Joy. I really appreciate all of that, because there's that moment in the book after I've come through a particularly hard time that was really bleak, where for the first time in my life, and I mean, I remember it thinking, oh, I don't need a save. Maybe I don't need to be saved, and maybe I don't need a savior. Maybe I can save myself. And, I was 31 when I had that revelation, which is, I don't know if that's young or old, but I know that, it was a long time in coming for me. And after that revelation, my life really did turn a corner. I was able to be more compassionate with people. I had a bigger heart with people. I was able to see people. I was in survival mode for so long that I really was very selfish. I mean, I really did some hurtful things, but it's because I thought that I was just trying to survive. And after that, I was able to just be more compassionate for other people and try to be less selfish. And so, I mean, that's just I guess that's the heart of all of our struggle, is just, knowing that we're here for ourselves and that we can save ourselves if need be.
Yeah, you know what? I agree. And it's kind of circling back to that sense of self, which Joy, I know you and I had talked about as well, because that is sometimes for some people, not everyone, an overlooked concept, that connection to who we truly are, what's really in here. And if we're not connected in a positive way, how can we possibly be connected with the outside world? I mean, what do you think?
I agree, and statistics hold that up. I mean, we did research with 8,000 respondents from the resiliency conferences, and what they said got them through the difficult times of COVID was connections. And the greatest number, it was about half and half, but a little more than half said it was because of friends and family. But the other half said it was connections to themselves. And I think that's amazing because I think more and more people are coming to the realization that that truly is home.
Well, ladies, sadly, we are just about out of time, but I wanted to ask you, Alisyn, one last question. If you could part any words of wisdom to our listeners and our viewers out there with regards to the enlightening content in your book, Combat Love, and life in general, really, are there any parting words that you would leave them with?
Well, I hope that they think that it's a fun ride. I mean, on some level, Combat Love is, a time machine back to the, 1980s and the kind of free range kids that we were then, that teenagers, I think, sadly, are not now. Though God knows I could have used a little bit more parenting and supervision. But on another level, I really appreciate everything that Joy has said. And I really hope that people are able to get from it the takeaway that even in your times of despair and deep depression, when things look bleak, if you fight your way out of it and claw your way out of it, there are so many great days ahead, and that I wouldn't have been able to achieve my dreams of becoming a TV reporter, which I really wanted to do from the time I was a teenager, and of having a healthy marriage and family if I hadn't been able to get through those obstacles. And I'm just so grateful for the help of friends and, as I said, therapy to have been able to come through that. There are brighter days ahead.
Ah, wonderful, wonderful. Well, Alisyn, we cannot thank you enough for being here with us today. Thank you. And we are certainly looking forward to your presentation in Resiliency 2024. And for everybody out there, it is September 12th, 2024. So thank you. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you.
It's Shelley, such a pleasure to talk to you. And thank you for the mystery guest, Joy. That was so wonderful for you to parachute in. It's always great to see you and talk to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Alisyn, and thank you, Joy. Thanks for being here. Joy, you are the best mystery guest ever, and thank you all out there for joining us today. This has been an episode of the Resiliency Connection. I want to leave you with a parting line from Alisyn's book, Combat Love. I'm going to put it up full screen for you. It says, "It's strange how many years we still carry pieces of shrapnel under our skin." Wow, right? I'll tell you what, that sentence alone gives me, it gives me chills. That sentence alone in my heart speaks volumes. How about you? So the question I ask you, how many of you are carrying shrapnel under your skin? And what will you do about it? How will you foster positive, resilient connections? Hopefully after today, you have a few tools to add to that tool belt. Please don't forget to visit us on YouTube. We're going to have a new podcast episode every week. And also, this is just a friendly reminder, don't forget to register for Resiliency in September 2024. We're going to put up the link here full screen so you can go and register. We love you all. You take care, and we'll see you soon.